Don't you dare lie to me again! You hear me?
Stop it, please!
The rain hammers against the restaurant windows like 1,000 accusing fingers, and I stand here in the center of Rossetti's, this upscale Italian place in Hoboken where Deacon proposed to me 3 years ago, with my hand pressed against my swollen belly and my entire world crumbling around my feet. The other diners have gone silent, forks suspended midair, wine glasses frozen halfway to lips. Everyone is staring at the spectacle I've become. My husband of 3 years stands before me, his hand still raised from where he just struck me across the face, his eyes wild with rage, and something else I'm only now beginning to recognize. Guilt, the kind that makes men cruel. My cheek burns where his palm connected, the sting radiating down my jaw and into my chest, where my heart is splintering into pieces I'll never be able to put back together. I'm 6 months pregnant with his child, and he just hit me in public, without hesitation. "You're insane," Deacon hisses, his voice low and venomous, designed to carry just far enough to reach the tables nearest us, but not so far that everyone hears how truly vicious he can be. Following me here like some psychotic stalker, making a scene. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? His jaw clenches, and I can see the muscle ticking there, the same tell he has when he's lying about working late or when he's deleted text messages before I can see them. I've been ignoring these signs for months, telling myself I'm paranoid, that pregnancy hormones are making me suspicious. But I'm not crazy. I know what I saw on his phone this morning. The messages, the photos, the hotel receipts, and I know who's sitting at that corner table behind him. The brunette in the red dress who's been watching this entire exchange with cold satisfaction gleaming in her eyes. My voice comes out broken, barely above a whisper, but somehow it cuts through the tension like a blade. "I'm your wife, Deacon. I'm carrying your baby." I press my hand harder against my stomach, feeling the flutter of movement beneath my palm, our daughter reminding me why I can't just collapse right here on this expensive marble floor. "How long have you been sleeping with her?" The question hangs in the air between us, heavy and damning. I don't need him to answer. I already know. The signs have been there for months. The late nights at the office, the sudden interest in going to the gym, the way he flinches when I touch him, like my hands remind him of his betrayal. But hearing it confirmed in this moment, seeing it written across his face, watching the woman in the red dress smile behind him like she's won some prize, it destroys something fundamental inside me. Deacon's face twists into something ugly, something I've never seen before, though maybe it was always there and I was too blind to notice. "You want to know how long?" 6 months, Marlowe. 6 months of pretending I still loved you when all I could think about was getting away from your needy, pathetic presence. His words are designed to wound, and they do, each syllable a knife sliding between my ribs. Sloane makes me feel alive. She doesn't spend every waking moment crying about baby names and nursery colors. She doesn't let herself go like you have. His eyes rake over my pregnant form with disgust, and I feel myself shrinking under his gaze, my free hand instinctively trying to cover my body, even though there's nothing wrong with how I look. I'm growing his child, our child, and he's looking at me like I'm repulsive. If you're loving this story already, don't forget to like and subscribe for more emotional journeys like Marlowe's. The woman in red, Sloane, rises from her table now, her heels clicking against the floor as she saunters over to stand beside Deacon, her hand sliding possessively around his arm. She's everything I'm not right now. Slim, polished, untouched by the weight of pregnancy and betrayal. Her smile is sharp enough to draw blood. "Deacon, darling, do we really need to waste more time on this?" She glances at me with thinly veiled contempt, her gaze sliding dismissively over my tear-stained face and maternity dress. "Let her go home. We have reservations at the Heights afterward, remember?" Her voice is smooth, cultured, dripping with the kind of confidence that comes from never having doubted her place in the world. I want to claw her eyes out. I want to scream until my throat bleeds, but I can't move. I'm frozen in this nightmare, watching my marriage disintegrate in real time while strangers watch like it's dinner theater. Something inside me finally snaps. The humiliation, the pain, the betrayal, it all crystallizes into a moment of perfect clarity. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to plead for him to choose me over her. I deserve more than this. My daughter deserves more than this. I lift my chin, meeting Deacon's eyes with what remains of my dignity. I'm surprised by how steady my voice sounds when I speak. I want a divorce. 3 words. Simple. Final. And the moment they leave my lips, I see panic flash across Deacon's face, because he knows what this means. My father left me a trust fund, one that Deacon has been eagerly awaiting access to for years. The one that becomes fully accessible only if we stay married for 5 years, or if I die. We're 2 years away from that deadline, and he's just jeopardized everything with his inability to keep his affair hidden until the clock ran out. His hand shoots out, gripping my wrist hard enough to bruise, and he leans in close, his breath hot against my ear. You're not divorcing me, Marlowe. That money is mine. I've put up with you for 3 years, and I'm not walking away empty-handed. The mask has completely fallen now. This isn't about love or passion or whatever lies he's been telling himself to justify the affair. It's about money. It's always been about money. I was just too naive, too desperate to be loved to see it. I try to pull away, but his grip tightens, his fingers digging into my skin, and I can feel the baby moving inside me, agitated by my elevated heartbeat, my fear. Let go of me, I say, louder now, my free hand going to his chest to push him away. But he doesn't budge. Instead, he shoves me backward, and I stumble, my balance already precarious from the pregnancy, my arms windmilling as I try to catch myself. I'm going to fall. I'm going to hit the floor, and I'm going to hurt my baby. The thought screams through my mind in the split second before impact, terror like ice water flooding my veins. But the impact never comes. Instead, strong hands catch me, steadying me with a gentleness that seems at odds with the raw power I can feel in the grip. I look up, gasping, and find myself staring into the darkest eyes I've ever seen. They're almost black in the dim restaurant lighting, framed by thick lashes and set in a face that could have been carved from marble, sharp cheekbones, strong jaw shadowed with stubble, a nose that's been broken at least once, and a mouth set in a hard line that promises violence to anyone who threatens what he's chosen to protect. The man holding me is tall, well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders encased in an obviously expensive charcoal suit that does nothing to hide the powerful build beneath. He's beautiful in a dangerous way, like a blade or a storm. Are you hurt? His voice is deep, rough-edged with the faintest trace of an accent I can't quite place. Italian maybe, or something Mediterranean. His hands are still on my arms, holding me steady, and I'm suddenly aware of how safe I feel in this stranger's grip, safer than I've felt in my own home for months. I shake my head, unable to find words, my heart hammering against my ribs for an entirely different reason now. He looks down at my belly, his expression softening just slightly, and then his gaze lifts to Deacon and Sloane, and the softness vanishes, replaced by something so cold and lethal that I feel Sloane take an instinctive step backward. This man radiates danger the way the sun radiates heat. Constant, undeniable, impossible to ignore. Every person in this restaurant can feel it. The air itself seems to have changed, grown heavier, more charged. You put your hands on a pregnant woman. The stranger's voice hasn't risen, hasn't changed volume at all, but somehow it fills the entire space, commanding absolute attention. He releases me carefully, making sure I'm steady on my feet, before turning his full attention to Deacon, and I watch my husband's face drain of color. Whatever bravado he had moments ago evaporates like morning mist. The stranger takes a single step toward Deacon, and it's like watching a predator close in on prey. In my restaurant. You shoved your pregnant wife in my restaurant. The emphasis on those last 3 words carries a weight I don't fully understand, but Deacon clearly does. He's backing up now, his hands raised in a placating gesture, and Sloane has abandoned him entirely, retreating to her table like the coward she is. The stranger reaches up, slowly unbuttoning his suit jacket, his movements precise and deliberate, and I realize with a jolt that he's giving Deacon time to be afraid. He's enjoying this. I don't want any trouble, Deacon stammers, his voice cracking, all traces of the cruel confidence he showed me completely gone. This is between me and my wife, just a domestic dispute, nothing that concerns you, Mr. He stops, clearly hoping the stranger will fill in the blank, will give him a name he can use to talk his way out of the situation. But the stranger just smiles, and it's the most terrifying expression I've ever seen. It doesn't reach his eyes at all. Those remain flat, emotionless, the eyes of someone who's seen and done things that would give normal people nightmares. He moves closer to Deacon, invading his personal space with the casual confidence of a man who's never encountered a physical threat he couldn't neutralize. My name is Vincenzo Torretti, he says quietly, and the reaction is immediate. Deacon goes even paler if that's possible, and someone at a nearby table drops their fork with a clatter that sounds like a gunshot in the silence. I know that name. Everyone in Hoboken knows that name. The Torrettis are old-school New Jersey Mafia, the kind of family that appears in news articles with words like alleged and suspected, because no one has ever managed to make anything stick. They own half the restaurants, construction companies, and shipping operations in the tri-state area. They're the reason certain neighborhoods are safe and others aren't. Their power and violence wrapped in expensive suits. And I just watched Vincenzo Torretti catch me when I fell. Deacon is openly shaking now, his face slick with sweat despite the restaurant's careful climate control. Mr. Torretti, I didn't realize I wouldn't have. This is just a misunderstanding. My wife is emotional. Pregnancy hormones, you know how it is. He's trying to play it off to minimize what he did, but Vincenzo's expression doesn't change, doesn't soften even a fraction. If anything, he looks even more disgusted. I know exactly how it is, Vincenzo says, his voice dropping even lower, forcing everyone to strain to hear him. I know that you struck her. I saw it. I know that you shoved her while she's 6 months pregnant. I saw that too. And I know that you're a coward who hides his cruelty behind closed doors till he thinks he can get away with it in public. He's close enough to Deacon now that he could reach out and touch him, but he doesn't. He doesn't need to. The threat is implicit in every line of his body, in the way he holds himself, like violence is always just barely leashed. You have 3 seconds to get out of my restaurant before I forget that we have an audience. The words are soft, almost gentle, but they carry the weight of absolute certainty. This is not a negotiation. This is not a discussion. This is a man who's used to being obeyed without question, and the consequences of defiance are written in blood somewhere in his past. Deacon doesn't wait for the count. He turns and practically runs for the exit, Sloane scrambling after him in her ridiculous heels, and I stand there in the center of Rossetti's, still cradling my belly, watching my husband abandon me without a backward glance. The silence stretches for another beat, and then Vincenzo turns back to me, his expression shifting again, that lethal coldness banking into something I can't quite read. Concern, maybe, or curiosity. You need to sit down, he says, and it's not a request, but it's not quite a command either. It's something in between. The voice of someone who's used to making decisions for other people's own good. He gestures to a private booth in the back, away from the windows and the staring diners, and I find myself nodding, following him on legs that feel like they might give out at any moment. The adrenaline is wearing off, leaving me hollow and shaking, and the reality of what just happened is starting to sink in. He guides me to the booth with a hand at the small of my back, the touch light but somehow grounding. and I sink into the plush leather seat with a gratitude that embarrasses me. I shouldn't be this weak. I shouldn't be this broken by a man who clearly never valued me at all. But I am. I'm shattered. Vincenzo slides into the seat across from me, his dark eyes never leaving my face, and he signals to someone I can't see. Within moments, a waiter appears with water, bread, and a first aid kit, all delivered without a word and with a deference that speaks volumes about who Vincenzo Torretti is in this place. He opens the kit, pulls out an ice pack, activates it with a quick twist and shake, and then offers it to me. "For your face," he says simply, and I realize my cheek is still burning, probably already bruising. I take the ice pack with trembling fingers, pressing it against my skin and wincing at the cold sting. "Thank you," I manage, my voice small and hoarse from unshed tears. "You didn't have to. I mean, I'm nobody. Just another disaster you had to clean up in your restaurant." I'm babbling, I realize, my words tumbling over each other as delayed shock sets in. I can't stop shaking. My hands, my shoulders, even my teeth are chattering despite the warmth of the restaurant. Vincenzo reaches across the table, not touching me, but close enough that I can feel the warmth radiating from his hand, a silent offer of comfort if I want it. "You're not nobody," he says, and there's something in his voice that makes me believe him, even though he doesn't know me, doesn't know anything about me except that my husband hit me in public. "And you're not a disaster. What happened here tonight, that's on him, not you." His eyes search my face, taking in details I'm sure are unflattering. The tear tracks, the swollen cheek, the mascara I can feel smudged under my eyes, the kindness in his words, the gentleness in his gaze. It cracks something open inside me that I've been holding together through sheer will for months. The tears come then, hot and unstoppable, and I can't hold them back anymore. I sob into my hands, the ice pack forgotten on the table, my shoulders heaving with the force of my grief. Not just for tonight, but for everything. For the marriage that was always a lie. For the man I thought Deacon was, but never existed. For the fantasy of a happy family I built in my head while my husband was building a life with someone else. For my daughter, who will grow up knowing her father chose another woman over her before she was even born. Vincenzo doesn't tell me to stop crying. He doesn't offer empty platitudes or uncomfortable reassurances. He just sits there, a solid presence across from me, and lets me fall apart. It's more than Deacon ever did. When the tears finally slow, leaving me wrung out and exhausted, Vincenzo pushes a glass of water toward me. "Drink," he says, and I do, my hand still shaking as I lift the glass to my lips. The water is cold and perfect, soothing my raw throat. I drink half the glass before setting it down, unable to meet his eyes. I must look like a disaster, red-faced, swollen-eyed, pregnant and abandoned. The kind of woman men pity but never respect. "I need to ask you something," Vincenzo says after a moment, his voice still gentle but with an underlying intensity that makes me look up. His dark eyes are serious, searching my face for something I don't understand. "Are you safe at home? If you go back to wherever you're staying, will he hurt you?" The question is direct, unflinching, and it forces me to confront the reality I've been avoiding all night. I don't know. I honestly don't know if Deacon would hurt me again. "I don't know," I admit, my voice barely above a whisper. "We live together. We have an apartment in Jersey City. I don't have anywhere else to go." The admission feels like defeat. I have no family left. My parents died in a car accident 2 years ago, which is how I came into the trust fund Deacon's so desperate to get his hands on. I have friends, but no one close enough to burden with this mess. And I have no money of my own beyond what Deacon allows me to spend, because I'd been so stupid, so trusting, putting his name on my accounts when we got married because he convinced me it was what married people did. I've been financially dependent on a man who's been cheating on me for half my pregnancy, and the realization of my own foolishness makes me want to cry all over again. I'm trapped, and I have been for months. I just didn't see it. Are you still with me? Drop it if you're invested in Marlowe's journey. Vincenzo is quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable, and then he pulls out his phone, types something quickly and sets it aside. You're not going back there tonight, he says. And it's not a question or a suggestion. It's a statement of fact, spoken with the absolute authority of someone who's used to making decisions and having them followed without argument. I have a property in Weehawken. It's secure. It's empty. You can stay there until we figure out what comes next. The offer is so unexpected, so generous, that for a moment I can only stare at him. He's a stranger. A dangerous stranger, if the stories about the Torretti family are even half true. I should say no. I should call a friend, get a hotel room, figure this out on my own. But the truth is, I'm exhausted. I'm 6 months pregnant. My husband just hit me in public. And this man, this mafia boss, is offering me safety when I have nowhere else to turn. Why? The question escapes before I can stop it. Why would you help me? You don't know me. I'm nobody to you. I need to understand his motivation, need to know if there's a catch, because in my experience, men don't offer help without expecting something in return. Deacon taught me that lesson thoroughly. Vincenzo leans back in his seat, his dark eyes never leaving my face, and for a moment I think he's not going to answer. Then he speaks, his voice low and rough, with some emotion I can't identify. My mother was pregnant with my sister when my father's mistress showed up at our house and tried to push her down the stairs. I was 8 years old, and I couldn't stop it, couldn't protect her. I've spent the last 30 years making sure that never happens to anyone in front of me again. The raw honesty in his words steals my breath. This isn't about pity. This isn't about owing him something. This is about his own demons, his own past, and I just happen to fit into a pattern he's determined to break. I find myself nodding before I've fully made the decision, my body overriding my brain's caution. Okay, I whisper. Okay, thank you. Vincenzo's expression softens almost imperceptibly, a slight relaxation around his eyes that might be relief or satisfaction or something else entirely. He stands, buttoning his suit jacket with practiced ease, and offers me his hand. I take it, letting him help me to my feet, and I'm struck again by how careful he is with me, how his grip is strong enough to support me, but gentle enough not to overwhelm. He's at least a foot taller than me, and standing this close, I can smell his cologne, something expensive and understated, cedar and leather, and something darker underneath. It should intimidate me. He should intimidate me. But instead, I feel safer than I have in months, standing in the shadow of a man the entire city fears. The drive to Weehawken is silent except for the soft hum of the engine and the occasional swish of the windshield wipers clearing away the rain. Vincenzo drives a black Mercedes S-Class, the interior all leather and polished wood, the kind of car that costs more than most people make in 2 years. I sit in the passenger seat, my hands folded over my belly, watching the city lights blur past through the rain-streaked window. I should be terrified. I'm in a car with a mafia boss, heading to an unknown location, completely at his mercy. But terror is exhausted somewhere back in that restaurant, and all I feel now is a bone-deep weariness that makes thinking clearly almost impossible. My daughter is moving inside me, her little kicks and rolls a reminder that I can't fall apart completely. Not yet. I have to stay strong for her, even when I feel like I'm barely holding myself together. What's your name? Vincenzo's question breaks the silence, and I jump slightly, pulled from my spiraling thoughts. His eyes flick toward me briefly before returning to the road, his hands steady on the wheel. Even his driving is controlled, precise, no wasted movement. I realize he's been calling me nothing at all, no terms of endearment or generic labels, just helping me without even knowing who I am. The kindness of that, the basic human decency after Deacon's cruelty, makes my throat tight again. Marlowe, I manage. Marlowe Ashby. Well, Marlowe Durant, technically, since I took Deacon's last name when we married, but I'm going to change it back as soon as I can. The bitterness in my voice surprises me, but Vincenzo just nods as if this makes perfect sense. Marlowe, he repeats, and something about the way he says my name, the slight emphasis on the first syllable, the way his accent roughens the edges, makes it sound like something precious. How far along are you? Another question, delivered in that same careful tone, like he's worried about startling me. I appreciate it more than he could know. Everything feels too loud, too bright, too sharp right now. My senses overwhelmed by shock and adrenaline crash. 6 months. 26 weeks. My hand moves automatically to my belly, fingers tracing the familiar curve. It's a girl. I have the ultrasound pictures on my phone if you want. I stop myself, realizing how ridiculous that sounds. Why would a mafia boss want to see ultrasound pictures of a stranger's baby? But Vincenzo glances at me again, and there's something almost gentle in his expression. "I'd like to see them," he says, and he sounds like he means it. So I pull out my phone with trembling fingers, navigate to my photo gallery, and there she is, my daughter. Her tiny profile, her button nose, her perfect fingers curled near her face. I stare at the image for a long moment before turning the phone toward Vincenzo at a red light. He takes the phone carefully, studying the ultrasound with an intensity that surprises me. A small smile tugs at the corner of his mouth, barely visible but there. "She's beautiful," he says quietly, handing the phone back. "Does she have a name?" I nod, swallowing past the lump in my throat. Lennox Grace. I'd chosen the name months ago, falling in love with it the moment I heard it, and Deacon had shrugged and said whatever I wanted was fine. Too busy with his phone, probably texting Sloane, to actually engage with the reality of becoming a father. The memory stings, sharp and fresh. Vincenzo seems to sense my pain because he changes the subject, his voice taking on a more business-like tone. The property in Weehawken is a 3-bedroom townhouse overlooking the Hudson. It's fully furnished, stocked with food, and has a security system. I'll have someone bring you clothes and anything else you need tomorrow. Tonight, just rest. You've been through enough. The townhouse is exactly as he described. Modern, clean, and absolutely beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows offer a stunning view of the Manhattan skyline across the river, the city lights reflecting off the rain-dark water. The furniture is expensive but comfortable, all neutral tones and soft fabrics. The kitchen is state-of-the-art, the refrigerator indeed stocked with fresh food. There are fresh flowers on the dining table, white lilies that fill the space with their delicate scent. It's the kind of place I dreamed of living in when Deacon and I were first married, before I realized he'd only married me for my trust fund. Vincenzo gives me a quick tour, showing me the master bedroom with its king-size bed and attached bathroom, the second bedroom that would make a perfect nursery, and the third bedroom, he indicates, is set up as an office. The security code is 6847, he tells me, writing it down on a notepad he finds in a kitchen drawer. The system is active on all doors and windows. If anyone tries to enter, it'll alert my security team immediately, and they'll be here in under 3 minutes. Will you stay? The question escapes before I can think better of it, and I immediately flush with embarrassment. What am I thinking? Asking a man I just met to stay the night. But Vincenzo doesn't look uncomfortable or amused by my slip. Instead, he considers the question seriously, his dark eyes searching my face. "Are you afraid to be alone?" he asks, and there's no judgment in the question, just honest inquiry. I want to lie, to tell him I'm fine, that I'm a strong, independent woman who doesn't need anyone, but I'm so tired of lying to myself, tired of pretending everything's okay when it's not. "Yes," I admit quietly. "I'm afraid Deacon will find me. I'm afraid I'll wake up and this will all be a nightmare. I'm afraid..." My voice cracks, and I can't finish the sentence, but I don't need to. Vincenzo understands. I'll stay on the couch, he says, already removing his suit jacket and draping it over a chair. He rolls up his shirt sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars that tell stories I'm probably better off not knowing. But first you need to eat something. When was the last time you had a meal? I try to remember and realize it was breakfast, over 12 hours ago. I'd been too nervous about confronting Deacon at lunch to eat anything. And then everything spiraled so quickly there was no time. Vincenzo makes a disapproving sound in the back of his throat and moves toward the kitchen with the confidence of someone who knows his way around it. Sit, he orders, pointing to the bar stool at the kitchen island. I'll make you something. I want to protest, to tell him he doesn't need to take care of me, but my body overrides my pride and I sink onto the stool gratefully, watching as he opens the refrigerator and starts pulling out ingredients. He cooks the way he does everything else, with precise, economical movements that speak of practice and competence. Within 15 minutes, there's a plate in front of me containing perfectly scrambled eggs, toast, sliced avocado, and fresh berries. It's simple food, but it's exactly what my body needs, and I find myself eating ravenously, shoveling forkfuls into my mouth without any of the manners my mother spent years drilling into me. Vincenzo watches me eat with satisfaction, leaning against the counter with his arms crossed, and I should feel self-conscious under his gaze, but somehow I don't. He pours me a glass of milk without asking if I want it, sets it beside my plate, and the casual domesticity of the gesture makes something crack open in my chest. When was the last time Deacon did something this simple for me? When was the last time he noticed I needed anything at all? I can't remember. Thank you, I say when I've finished, pushing the empty plate away and taking a long drink of the milk. For everything. The food, the apartment, just thank you. The words feel inadequate for what he's done tonight, for the safety he's offering a complete stranger, but I don't have anything else. Vincenzo inclines his head in acknowledgement, his expression unreadable. You don't need to thank me, Marlowe, not for basic decency. He moves to clean up the dishes and I watch him, trying to reconcile this man, this careful, attentive man washing dishes in rolled up shirt sleeves, with the stories I've heard about the Torretti family. With the lethal coldness I saw in his eyes when he looked at Deacon. He's a contradiction, violence and gentleness wrapped in the same skin, and I don't know which version is real or if they both are. The thought should scare me more than it does. I'm getting emotional over here. Are you feeling this too? Let me know in the comments. When the kitchen is clean and the dishes put away, Vincenzo shows me where the linens are stored and helps me make up the couch, despite my protests that he doesn't need to, that I can do it myself. But he insists with a stubbornness that reminds me he's used to getting his way, and I'm too tired to argue. By the time everything is settled, I can barely keep my eyes open, my body demanding rest now that I'm somewhere safe. Vincenzo walks me to the master bedroom, waits while I take a quick shower in the attached bathroom. The hot water feels like heaven on my aching muscles. And when I emerge in one of the plush robes I found hanging on the back of the door, he's still there, sitting on the edge of the bed with his phone in his hand. He looks up when I enter and his eyes do a quick sweep over me that's more protective than appreciative, checking to make sure I'm okay. If you need anything during the night, I'll be right outside, he says, standing and moving toward the door. Don't hesitate to wake me. I nod, clutching the robe closed at my throat, suddenly feeling vulnerable in a way that has nothing to do with physical danger and everything to do with emotional exposure. This man has seen me at my absolute worst, crying, broken, desperate, and he hasn't judged me, hasn't made me feel weak for falling apart. It's more than I expected from anyone, let alone from someone with his reputation. Vincenzo, I call softly as he reaches the doorway, and he turns back, one hand on the frame, waiting. Why did you really help me? I know what you said about your mother, but there has to be more to it than that. I need to understand. Need to know if I'm walking into another situation where I'll be used and discarded when I'm no longer useful. He's quiet for so long I think he's not going to answer. And then he speaks, his voice low and rough, with something that sounds like old pain. My mother died 3 weeks after my sister was born. Complications from the fall. She went into early labor and there were problems. Internal bleeding they couldn't stop. My father blamed himself. I blamed myself. And the woman who pushed her walked away without consequences because my father was too broken to seek justice. His jaw clenches and I can see the muscle ticking there. The same tell Deacon has, but for entirely different reasons. I made a promise at her funeral that I would never stand by and watch a pregnant woman be hurt again. That if I had the power to stop it, I would. Every single time, no exceptions. The raw honesty of his confession leaves me breathless. This isn't about obligation or debt. This is about redemption. About trying to save others from a tragedy he couldn't prevent. I'm sorry, I whisper, and I mean it. I'm so sorry that happened to you, to your family. Vincenzo's expression softens marginally, and he nods once, acknowledging my sympathy without dwelling on it. Get some sleep, Marlowe. Tomorrow we'll start figuring out what comes next. Then he's gone, pulling the door closed behind him with a soft click. And I'm alone in this beautiful bedroom that belongs to a stranger. Pregnant and abandoned and somehow safer than I've felt in my own home for months. I climb into the bed, which is incredibly comfortable with its high thread count sheets and down comforter, and I expect to lie awake all night replaying the disaster at the restaurant. But instead, my body's exhaustion catches up with me, and I fall into a deep, dreamless sleep within minutes, my hand resting on my belly where Lennox shifts and settles. I wake to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee brewing. For a moment, I'm disoriented, not recognizing my surroundings, and then yesterday crashes back into my memory with devastating clarity. Deacon, the restaurant, the slap, Vincenzo. I'm in Weehawken in a townhouse owned by a Mafia boss who showed me more kindness in one night than my husband has in 3 years. I sit up slowly, my body stiff and sore, and catch sight of myself in the mirror across from the bed. My cheek is bruised, a dark purple and yellow mark in the shape of Deacon's hand, and my eyes are swollen from crying. I look exactly like what I am, a woman who's been through hell. I force myself out of bed, use the bathroom, and find clean clothes laid out on the chair by the window. Maternity jeans, a soft sweater, undergarments still in their packaging, all in exactly my size. Vincenzo must have sent someone early this morning. When I emerge from the bedroom, showered and dressed, Vincenzo is standing in the kitchen talking on his phone in rapid Italian. He's wearing different clothes than yesterday. Dark jeans and a black Henley that emphasizes the breadth of his shoulders and the lean strength of his frame. His hair is still damp from a shower, pushed back from his face, and he's barefoot, which seems strangely intimate. He catches sight of me and finishes his conversation quickly, tucking his phone into his back pocket as he moves toward the coffee maker. How did you sleep? He asks, pouring coffee into a mug and then adding cream and sugar without asking how I take it. I realize he must have noticed how I doctored my water at the restaurant last night, the way I added sweetener to my tea. The attention to detail is both comforting and unnerving. Better than I expected, I admit, accepting the mug and taking a careful sip. It's perfect, exactly how I like it. Good. Vincenzo leans against the counter, his own mug cradled in one large hand, and studies me with those dark, intense eyes that seem to see everything. We need to talk about what happens next. You said you wanted a divorce. Did you mean it, or were you just trying to hurt him? The question is direct, almost brutal in its honesty, but I appreciate it. I'm so tired of people dancing around hard truths. I meant it, I say firmly. I'm done. I was done the moment I saw those messages on his phone. The affair just confirmed what I already knew. He doesn't love me. Maybe he never did. And I won't raise my daughter in a home where her father treats her mother like an inconvenience. My voice is stronger than I expected, steadier, and saying the words out loud makes them feel more real. I can do this. I have to do this for Lennox, for myself. Vincenzo nods slowly, something like approval flickering in his expression. Then you'll need a good lawyer. I know someone. Carissa Wynn. She's ruthless, expensive, and she specializes in high-conflict divorces involving financial disputes. I'll call her today and set up a meeting. He's already planning, already moving. Pieces on a chessboard I didn't know we were playing, and I should be grateful, but instead I feel a flash of frustration. I can't afford an expensive lawyer, I say quietly, hating to admit my financial situation, but needing him to understand. Deacon controls all our accounts. I have maybe $300 in cash in my purse. I'm completely dependent on him, which is exactly how he wanted it. The admission tastes like failure, like all the times my mother warned me not to give up my independence, and I did it anyway because I was in love and stupid. You're not paying for the lawyer, Vincenzo says, and his tone brooks no argument. Consider it an investment in your future. Once you have access to your trust fund, you can pay me back if you want, or don't. It doesn't matter. He waves a hand dismissively, like the cost of what's probably a $10,000 retainer is pocket change to him. Which, given who he is, it probably is. But I can't accept such a huge gift from a stranger, even one who's shown me more kindness than I deserve. I can't let you do that, I protest. You've already done so much. The apartment, the clothes, the food. I can't take advantage of your generosity any more than I already have. Vincenzo's expression darkens, and he sets his mug down with enough force that I flinch. But when he speaks, his voice is controlled, carefully gentle despite the frustration I can see in his eyes. Marlowe, look at me. I do, meeting those dark eyes that have seen things I can only imagine. You're not taking advantage of anything. You're accepting help from someone who has the resources to give it. There's no shame in that. And if you're worried about owing me something, don't be. I don't operate that way. Not with you. The emphasis on those last 3 words makes something flutter in my chest that I quickly squash down. This isn't about attraction or romance. This is about survival. About getting away from Deacon and building a life for my daughter. Anything else is just my damaged heart looking for safety in the wrong places. But even as I think it, I can't deny that Vincenzo makes me feel things I haven't felt in years. Protected, seen, valued. The way he looks at me like I matter, like my pain matters, it's intoxicating in its simplicity. Terrifying because I can't afford to lean on anyone right now. I need to learn to stand on my own. Okay, I finally say, the word barely above a whisper. Okay, thank you. For everything. Vincenzo's expression softens, and he reaches out slowly, giving me time to pull away if I want to, and brushes his thumb gently across my bruised cheek. The touch is feather-light, barely there, but it sends electricity through my entire body. He'll never touch you again, Vincenzo says, and it's not a promise or a threat. It's a statement of absolute fact. I'll make sure of it. And looking into his eyes, seeing the cold certainty there, I believe him. This is a man who keeps his word, who follows through on threats with lethal efficiency. And for the first time since Deacon raised his hand to me, I feel something other than fear and despair. I feel hope. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can survive this nightmare and come out the other side stronger. Maybe Lennox will be okay. Maybe we both will be. The next few days settle into a strange routine. Vincenzo leaves early in the mornings, presumably to handle whatever business a Mafia boss handles, but he always returns by dinner with food and updates on my case. Carissa Wynn, the lawyer he recommended, is everything he promised. Sharp, efficient, and absolutely ruthless. She took my case immediately after one phone call from Vincenzo, and within 48 hours, she had restraining orders filed against Deacon, divorce papers drawn up, and a preliminary injunction freezing all our joint accounts pending the divorce proceedings. Deacon tried to drain our savings the morning after the restaurant incident. But Carissa was faster. She's been a lawyer for 20 years, she told me during our first meeting, and she's seen every dirty trick in the book. Deacon won't get a penny he's not legally entitled to, which, given that we weren't married long enough for him to claim my trust fund and I can prove he committed adultery, is next to nothing. But Deacon doesn't take the divorce papers quietly. The first time he tries to see me, security stops him at the gate to the townhouse complex, and he spends 20 minutes screaming through the intercom that I'm his wife, that I can't keep him from his own child, that I'm being manipulated by criminals. The security footage shows him red-faced and wild-eyed, pounding on the gate like a madman, and watching it later on Vincenzo's phone makes my blood run cold. This is the man I married. This is the father of my child. The second time, he shows up at Carissa's office during one of my meetings, demanding to speak to me and has to be escorted out by building security. The third time, he follows me to a doctor's appointment despite the restraining order, and that's when Vincenzo's patience runs out. I don't see what happens, but Deacon doesn't try to contact me again after that day. When I ask Vincenzo about it, he just says they had a conversation and Deacon understands the situation now. I should probably be more concerned about what that conversation entailed, but I'm 7 months pregnant now, exhausted and swollen, and so ready for this pregnancy to be over. My entire body aches constantly, my back hurts, my feet are permanently swollen. I can't sleep comfortably in any position. Lennox has decided my ribs are a perfect place to rest her feet, and every time she stretches, it feels like she's trying to crack me open from the inside. I'm miserable physically, even as I'm slowly healing emotionally. The townhouse has become my sanctuary, and Vincenzo has become, I don't even know what to call him. He's not my boyfriend. He's not my friend, not really. He's my protector, my benefactor, the man who stands between me and my abusive ex-husband. And somehow, that doesn't feel like enough to describe what he's become to me in these past few weeks. He's the person I look forward to seeing every evening. The person whose opinion matters. The person who makes me feel safe. Wait until you see what happens next. You won't believe it. One evening, when I'm 8 months pregnant and absolutely massive, barely able to move without waddling like a penguin, Vincenzo comes home from work and finds me crying in the nursery. I've been setting it up slowly over the past weeks, using money from my newly accessible accounts to buy everything Lennox will need. The crib is assembled in the corner, white with delicate scrollwork. The walls are painted a soft sage green. There are shelves filled with books and toys, a rocking chair by the window, a changing table stocked with diapers and wipes. It's everything I dreamed of when I first found out I was pregnant, but instead of feeling joy looking at it, I just feel overwhelmed with sadness. This isn't how it was supposed to be. I was supposed to do this with Deacon. We were supposed to be excited together, planning our daughter's arrival as a team. Instead, I'm alone, preparing to be a single mother, and my daughter will grow up without her father because he chose his mistress over his own child. Marlowe? Vincenzo's voice is gentle as he enters the room, and I try to wipe away my tears quickly, embarrassed to be caught falling apart again. But he's seen me cry so many times now that there's no point in hiding it. He crosses to where I'm standing by the crib, my hand resting on the rail, and he doesn't ask what's wrong. He just stands beside me, solid and steady, and waits for me to speak when I'm ready. I don't know how to do this alone, I finally admit, my voice breaking. I don't know how to be a mother by myself. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail her? What if she grows up resenting me because her father wasn't here, and somehow that becomes my fault? The fears I've been holding inside for weeks come tumbling out in a rush, and once they start, I can't stop them. Vincenzo turns to face me fully, his hands coming to rest gently on my shoulders, grounding me. "You're not alone," he says firmly, his dark eyes intense as they hold mine. "You have Carissa. You have your doctor. You have the support system we've built. And you have me." The last 3 words hang in the air between us, heavy with meaning I'm afraid to examine too closely. "You've been amazing these past 2 months, Marlowe. You've been strong and brave, and you fought for yourself and your daughter when it would have been easier to give up. You're going to be an incredible mother. I know it." His faith in me, his absolute certainty, it cracks open something in my chest that's been frozen since the night at the restaurant. I've been so focused on surviving, on just getting through each day, that I haven't stopped to recognize my own strength. But he sees it. He's been seeing it all along. "Thank you," I whisper. And then, before I can talk myself out of it, I step forward and wrap my arms around him as much as my belly will allow, pressing my face against his chest. He stiffens for just a moment, surprised, and then his arms come around me carefully, holding me close, one hand cradling the back of my head. He's warm and solid, and he smells like cedar and leather and safety, and I let myself have this moment of weakness, this moment of accepting comfort from someone who's become so much more important to me than I intended. We stand like that for a long time, just breathing together, and when I finally pull back, there's something different in his eyes. Something heated and intense that makes my breath catch. But he doesn't act on it. Instead, he steps back, putting proper distance between us, and clears his throat. "I brought dinner," he says, his voice slightly rougher than usual. "Thai food. I remembered you said you were craving pad thai." The moment passes, but something has shifted between us. Some line has been crossed that we can't uncross, and I feel it in every interaction after that. The way his hand lingers when he helps me up from the couch. The way he watches me when he thinks I'm not looking. His eyes tracking my movements with an intensity that has nothing to do with protection and everything to do with desire. The way I catch myself looking for excuses to touch him, to stand close to him, to hear his voice. It's dangerous. It's stupid. I'm 8 months pregnant with another man's child in the middle of a bitter divorce, completely dependent on Vincenzo's generosity. This is the worst possible time to develop feelings for anyone, let alone for the Mafia boss who's been housing me out of the goodness of his heart. But I can't seem to stop myself from falling. Not when he's the first person in years who's made me feel like I matter. Like I'm worth protecting. Like I'm worth something at all. The divorce moves quickly thanks to Carissa's efficiency and Deacon's inability to mount any real defense. He can't claim the trust fund. He can't claim rights to the townhouse or any of Vincenzo's properties. He can't even claim half our marital assets because most of them were purchased with my money after we married. All he gets is his clothes, his car, and his freedom to continue his affair with Sloane without sneaking around. The final papers are signed in mid-March, when I'm 36 weeks pregnant and so ready to not be pregnant anymore that I'd sign anything just to have this part of my life officially over. Carissa hands me my copy of the divorce decree with satisfaction. "You're free," she tells me, and I want to feel relief or joy or something positive. Instead, I just feel tired. 3 years of my life given to a man who never loved me. 3 years wasted on a fantasy that never existed. But at least I have, Lennox. At least something good came from the disaster of my marriage. Vincenzo takes me out to dinner that night to celebrate, insisting despite my protests that I'm too pregnant and uncomfortable to go anywhere nice. He takes me to a small Italian restaurant in Hoboken, not Rossetti's. He's careful about that, where the owner greets him by name and leads us to a private table in the back. The food is incredible. Fresh pasta and perfectly seasoned vegetables and dessert so good I almost cry. Vincenzo watches me eat with that small smile he gets sometimes, the one that softens his hard face and makes him look younger, less dangerous. "You did it," he says when I finally push my empty plate away with a satisfied sigh. "You got out." You're free. You should be proud of yourself. And I am, I realize. I'm proud that I found the strength to leave. Proud that I fought for my daughter's future. Proud that I didn't let Deacon break me completely, even when he tried. I couldn't have done it without you, I say honestly, meeting his eyes across the table. You saved me, Vincenzo. That night at the restaurant, you saved my life. Mine and Lennox's. My hand goes to my belly automatically, feeling her roll and kick beneath my palm. She's active tonight. Probably because I'm emotional and my adrenaline is up. Vincenzo's gaze follows my hand, something unreadable flickering in his expression. Can I? He starts, then stops, looking almost uncertain for the first time since I've known him. Can I feel her kick? The question is asked so softly, with such unexpected vulnerability that I find myself nodding before I've fully processed what he's asking. He reaches across the table slowly, and I guide his hand to where Lennox is currently attempting to push her way out through my right side. The moment his palm settles against my belly, she gives a huge kick, as if she knows someone new is paying attention. Vincenzo's entire face transforms. The hard edges soften, his eyes widen with wonder, and a smile, a real genuine smile that reaches his eyes, breaks across his face. She's strong, he says, his voice rough with emotion. She's going to be a fighter, just like her mother. Lennox kicks again, harder this time, and he laughs. The sound so unexpected and warm that it does something to my heart I'm not prepared for. I'm in love with him, I realize with sudden, devastating clarity. Somewhere between him catching me when I fell and him standing in my daughter's nursery promising I'm not alone, I fell completely and irrevocably in love with Vincenzo Torretti. It's the worst possible timing. It's the worst possible man. Dangerous, violent, involved in things I can't even think about without feeling sick. But I love him anyway. Love him for his gentleness with me. Love him for his protection. Love him for this moment. His hand on my belly, joy on his face, because my daughter is strong and healthy and almost here. Lennox Grace arrives 3 weeks later on a Tuesday morning in early April. My water breaks at 5 a.m., and Vincenzo drives me to the hospital with the kind of controlled urgency that tells me he's terrified, even though his face shows nothing. He stays with me through the entire labor, holds my hand through every contraction, lets me squeeze his fingers until I'm sure I'm breaking bones. When the pain gets bad, really bad, the kind that makes me scream and cry and beg for it to end, he leans close and talks me through it, his voice low and steady and constant, telling me I'm strong, telling me I can do this, telling me my daughter is almost here. And 14 hours after we arrived at the hospital, Lennox Grace makes her entrance into the world, screaming her displeasure at having been evicted from her warm, comfortable home, and she's absolutely perfect. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, 20 inches long, a cap of dark hair and huge eyes that blink up at me when the nurse places her on my chest. Did this story touch your heart? Like, share, and subscribe for more emotional romance stories. I'm crying, ugly sobbing as I hold my daughter for the first time, feeling her tiny body against mine, her little heart beating fast and strong. She's perfect. She's mine. And Deacon isn't here. Didn't even know I was in labor. Won't meet his daughter because he chose to walk away before she was born. The thought should make me angry, but I can't muster the energy for it right now. Not when I'm holding this miracle, this tiny person who's going to call me mama, who's going to depend on me for everything. I will be enough for her. I have to be. Vincenzo stands beside the hospital bed, looking down at us with an expression I've never seen before. There's awe there, and tenderness, and something that looks almost like longing. Can I hold her? He asks after a moment. His voice quiet, and I nod without hesitation. The nurse shows him how to support her head, how to cradle her carefully, and then Lennox is in his arms, looking impossibly small against his broad chest. He's a natural with her, moving with the same careful precision he applies to everything else. He studies her tiny face with complete focus, one finger gently stroking her cheek, and when she wraps her impossibly small hand around his finger, his entire face softens into an expression of such pure joy that my heart aches watching it. "Hello, little one," he murmurs. "Welcome to the world. You have no idea how much your mother fought for you, how strong she is, how much she loves you already." He's talking to Lennox, but his eyes lift to mine, and the emotion I see there steals my breath. This man, this dangerous, powerful man, he's fallen in love with my daughter. And maybe he's fallen a little bit in love with me too. The realization terrifies and exhilarates me in equal measure because I don't know what to do with it. Don't know if I'm ready for it. Don't know if I'll ever be ready for someone after what Deacon did to me. The first few weeks with a newborn are exactly as brutal as everyone warned they would be. Lennox doesn't sleep more than 2 hours at a stretch, which means I don't sleep more than 2 hours at a stretch. My body is exhausted and sore, still healing from giving birth. Breastfeeding is harder than I expected. Painful until we finally get the latch right. I spend most of my time in sweatpants and milk-stained shirts, my hair in a messy bun, looking like I've been through a war. Which, in a way, I have. But I'm happy, genuinely, bone-deep happy for the first time in years. Every time Lennox looks at me with those huge dark eyes, every time she makes a little sighing sound in her sleep, every time her tiny fingers curl around mine, I fall more in love. This is what I was meant to do. This is who I was meant to be. Deacon's absence doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't even register. We don't need him. We never did. Vincenzo is there through all of it, helping in ways I never expected. He learns how to change diapers and do the complicated swaddle the nurses taught us at the hospital. He holds Lennox so I can shower or sleep or just have 5 minutes of peace. He brings me food when I forget to eat, makes sure I'm taking my vitamins, sits with me during the 2 a.m. feedings when the world feels too quiet and too big, and I'm overwhelmed by the responsibility of keeping this tiny human alive. He never complains, never acts like this is an imposition or something he's obligated to do out of duty. He's here because he wants to be, and that means more to me than I know how to express. We're becoming a family, the 3 of us, in this townhouse overlooking the Hudson, and it should feel too fast, too soon, too complicated, but instead it feels right, like pieces clicking into place, like coming home. "I need to tell you something," Vincenzo says one night when Lennox is 6 weeks old and finally sleeping for 3-hour stretches, giving us our first real conversation time in days. We're sitting on the couch, the baby monitor on the coffee table, and he's angled toward me with an intensity that makes my pulse quicken. I know the timing is terrible. I know you just got divorced and you're still recovering and you have a newborn. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel what I feel. He reaches out, taking my hand in his much larger one, his thumb brushing across my knuckles. "I'm in love with you, Marlowe. I've been falling for weeks, maybe months. Every time you smile at Lennox, every time you push through exhaustion to take care of her, every time you're yourself, funny and strong and beautiful, I see you, all of you, and I love what I see." My breath catches in my throat, my heart hammering so hard I'm sure he can hear it. "Vincenzo," I start, but he shakes his head, cutting me off gently. "You don't have to say anything back. I'm not asking you to. I know you might not be ready, might never be ready after what Deacon put you through. But I needed you to know, needed you to understand that everything I've done, the apartment, the lawyers, helping with Lennox, I didn't do it out of obligation or because I felt sorry for you. I did it because I care about you, because I want to be in your life, in both of your lives, if you'll let me." His eyes are vulnerable in a way I've never seen, all his usual control stripped away, leaving him exposed, waiting, hoping. And I realize he's terrified I'll say no. Terrified I'll thank him politely and push him away and destroy whatever this thing between us has become. "I love you too," I whisper, the words tumbling out before I can second guess them. I've loved you for weeks. Maybe since that first night at the restaurant when you caught me. When you made me feel safe for the first time in years. I was so scared to admit it. Scared I was just trauma bonding or looking for a replacement for Deacon or a father figure for Lennox. But it's not any of those things. It's just you. The way you make me laugh. The way you hold my daughter like she's made of glass. The way you look at me like I'm something precious. I love you, Vincenzo. I love you, and I'm terrified because I don't know how to do this again. How to trust again. How to open myself up when the last time I did, I got destroyed. My voice breaks on the last word. Tears streaming down my face. All the fear and pain of the past months coming out in a rush. Vincenzo closes the distance between us in one smooth movement, cupping my face in his hands and wiping away my tears with his thumbs. I'm not Deacon, he says fiercely. I will never be Deacon. I will never raise my hand to you, never cheat on you, never make you question your worth. You are everything, Marlowe. You and Lennox. You're my family now, if you want to be. And I will spend the rest of my life proving that you can trust me, that I will protect you and cherish you and love you exactly as you deserve to be loved. And then he's kissing me, soft and gentle at first, giving me every chance to pull away, but I don't. I lean into him instead, kissing him back with all the pent-up emotion I've been holding inside for months, and it feels like coming alive after being dead for years. His lips are warm and firm and perfect against mine, his hands tender on my face, and when we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. Be with me, he says, his forehead resting against mine, officially. Let me be yours. Let me be hers. Let me give you both the life you deserve. I nod, unable to speak past the emotion clogging my throat, and I kiss him again, longer this time, deeper, losing myself in the feeling of being wanted and cherished and safe. We're interrupted by Lennox's cry over the monitor, her indignant wail letting us know she's awake and hungry, and we break apart laughing. Vincenzo stands, pulling me to my feet, and together we go to get our daughter, this tiny person who brought us together. I watch him pick her up, so gentle and careful, talking to her in soft Italian as he brings her to me, and I think about how far I've come. From the woman who stood in that restaurant 6 months ago, broken and humiliated, to this moment, to love, to family, to home. But of course, Deacon can't let things end quietly. He shows up 3 months after Lennox is born, violating the restraining order and appearing at the townhouse gate in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. Security alerts me immediately, and I watch on the camera feed as he presses the intercom button repeatedly, his face red with rage. Marlowe, I know you're in there. Open the damn gate. That's my daughter. You can't keep me from my daughter. He's screaming loud enough that I can hear him through the closed windows, loud enough that neighbors are starting to peek out from their houses to see what's happening. I call Vincenzo immediately, my hands shaking as I hold Lennox against my chest, and he answers on the first ring. He's here, I say, not bothering with preamble. Deacon's at the gate. He's violating the restraining order. Vincenzo's voice goes ice cold. Lock the doors. Don't go outside. I'm 10 minutes away. Those 10 minutes feel like hours as I pace the living room, Lennox fussy in my arms, picking up on my anxiety. Deacon doesn't leave. Instead, he gets more aggressive, pounding on the gate, shouting about his rights, his daughter, threatening to call the police and report me for parental kidnapping, even though he signed away his parental rights in the divorce to avoid paying child support. He wants back in now that he's broken up with Sloane, now that he's realized what he lost, and he thinks he can bully his way back into our lives. But he's forgotten who's protecting us now. Forgotten that Vincenzo Torretti doesn't make idle threats, doesn't play games, doesn't give second chances to men who hit pregnant women. When Vincenzo's Mercedes pulls up to the gate, 2 additional black SUVs right behind him, Deacon's bravado wavers. I can see it in the camera feed, the way he takes a step back, suddenly uncertain. Vincenzo exits his car with lethal grace, buttoning his suit jacket, and the look on his face is colder than anything I've ever seen. This is not the gentle man who holds my daughter and makes me breakfast. This is the Mafia boss, and he's absolutely terrifying. I can't hear what Vincenzo says to Deacon through the camera, but I can see the effect it has. Deacon goes pale, his hands coming up in a defensive gesture, backing away from the gate. 4 men emerge from the SUVs, all built like brick walls, all watching Deacon with the flat, emotionless stares of people who've done terrible things and would happily do them again. Vincenzo takes a single step forward, and Deacon flinches like he's been hit. The conversation lasts less than 3 minutes, and then Vincenzo makes a small gesture, and 2 of the men grab Deacon by the arms, walking him to one of the SUVs. Not gently, not carefully. With enough force that he stumbles, nearly falls, has to be caught and shoved into the back seat. The SUV drives away with Deacon inside, and Vincenzo watches it go with his arms crossed, his expression carved from stone. Then he looks up at the townhouse, directly at the camera I'm watching through, and his face softens just slightly. He's coming to me, to us. And whatever he just did to Deacon, it's over now. When Vincenzo enters the townhouse, I'm waiting in the living room. Lennox, asleep on my shoulder after her frightened crying wore her out. He goes straight to us, his hands framing my face, his eyes scanning me for any sign of distress. Are you okay? Did he scare you? His voice is gentle now, all the coldness from outside completely gone, replaced by concern. I nod, leaning into his touch. I'm okay. We're okay. Where did they take him? I need to know. Need to understand what just happened. Vincenzo's expression hardens marginally. Somewhere we can have a conversation without interruption. Don't worry about Deacon, Marlowe. He won't bother you again. I'm making sure of it. There's a finality to his words that should probably concern me, but I'm too relieved to care. Too grateful that someone is finally handling this situation, finally making Deacon face consequences for his actions. What did you do? I ask after a moment, and Vincenzo is quiet for a long beat before answering. I reminded him what happens to men who put their hands on women, who abandon their children, who violate restraining orders meant to keep those women safe. He pauses, his jaw clenching. I gave him a choice. Leave New Jersey and never contact you or Lennox again, or I make sure he understands exactly how much his knees are worth to him. The threat is clear, brutal in its simplicity, and I should be horrified. Should be appalled that Vincenzo would threaten violence on my behalf. But instead, I feel only relief. Deacon chose to walk away, chose to leave us alone, chose his kneecaps over any further attempts to terrorize me. And I'm glad. Glad that Vincenzo has the power to protect us in ways I never could on my own. Glad that I don't have to be afraid anymore. Thank you, I whisper, shifting Lennox carefully so I can wrap one arm around Vincenzo's waist, holding both of the people I love most in the world. Thank you for protecting us, for keeping us safe, for everything. Vincenzo's arms come around both of us, careful not to disturb the sleeping baby, and he presses a kiss to the top of my head. Always, he says simply. I will always protect you. Both of you. That's what family does. And standing there in our living room, the 3 of us together, I finally let myself believe it. Let myself believe that we're going to be okay, that Deacon's shadow is finally gone from our lives, that Lennox will grow up safe and loved and protected, that I found something real in the ashes of my destroyed marriage, something worth fighting for, someone worth trusting with my broken heart. And as Vincenzo holds us, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I think about how far we've come, from that terrible night at Rossetti's to this moment, to love, to family, to home. 6 months later, on a crisp October evening, Vincenzo proposes. Nothing elaborate or public, just the 3 of us in our townhouse, because it's ours now. Officially, the deed transferred to my name as a birthday gift, with Lennox playing on the floor between us, babbling and rolling and being generally delightful at 8 months old. He doesn't get down on one knee, doesn't make a big speech. He just takes my hand, slides a ring onto my finger, a simple platinum band with a single perfect diamond that catches the light, and says, "Marry me. Let me spend the rest of my life loving you, loving both of you. Be my wife, Marlowe. Let me be Lennox's father in every way that matters. Let us be a real family." And I don't have to think about my answer. Don't have to weigh pros and cons or worry about making the wrong choice, because this is right. He is right. This life we've built together is right. "Yes," I say, tears streaming down my face even as I'm smiling wider than I have in years. "Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to everything." And when he kisses me, Lennox claps her chubby hands together like she approves, and we laugh against each other's lips. And I think about the woman I was, broken, humiliated, lost, and the woman I am now, loved, protected, whole, and I'm grateful for every terrible thing that happened because it led me here, to Vincenzo, to us, to home. The end.